Hey, what's up? We're doing a little quick look at the Avowed trailer, that new game from Obsidian, based in the world of Eora. Oh my gosh, how exciting. I thought it was dead in the water, but no. As it turns out, it's not. I've seen the trailer before, quite a few times. But this is more of a quick analysis thing. We'll see how quick it really is. Good lord. It'll be funny if I'm saying that and the length is like 20, 30 minutes. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But, yeah, this is their new thing. It's going to be a first-person role-playing game. Very neat. Probably in the same vein as Elder Scrolls. Some people would say, pick one. I say, there's not many of these games. I'm going to play both. But yeah, Avowed. Very, very excited for it. Very excited to see Eora going on. And you wouldn't know that it is set in the world of Pillars of Eternity in Eora if you didn't either see on social media or you continued watching beyond this trailer where it showed up in the Xbox Game Showcase. Because they don't mention it. I didn't realize, or I did, you know, there's hints that you can see, and you're like, wow, is this Pillars of Eternity? Is this what I think it is? And they don't confirm it until outside of it or on social media or whatever. It's wild. Anyway, let's hit play. We're going to do a lot of stopping and scrubbing, right? We've even got the closed captioning on. Here we begin. Everyone does these now, right? Right, yeah. Fucking, so many people did like 30-minute analyses of that Elder Scrolls 6 like teaser of it just being the like a background with a few rocky buildings. People just poured over that, and this has a lot more information in it than that. Good lord, that was definitely meant to just tide everyone over until the next until Starfield or whatever, because you know they were trying to get in good graces after 76 and all that. Anyway, let's continue. Justin E. Bell, still composing, I believe.
We have
Alright.
always known war.
Here we go. Look at this scene here. Do you like this? We really are just scrubbing through this shit, aren't we? Isn't this very cool and professional? Anyway, as we can see here, big old scene, some sort of battlefield? I'm not sure. I'm hesitant to say battlefield because you don't see any people at battle. But surely there's someone down there, right? Now, why is that we assume that? Because this, you know what this looks like? War of the Black Trees. That's right, baby. These things are on fire. War of the Black Trees in Pillars of Eternity lore is when the Aediran Empire, currently it was the Aediran Empire, they were colonizing this area, and they were extracting illegally Ingwithan artifacts from lands that belong to the folks of Glonfath, the Glonfathans, which I think right here on the right, this might be Ingwithan ruins. Right here, some of these little, like, Stonehenge stuff. I'm thinking this is in the Deerwood, right? Especially given the mountains in the distance. If you look at a Eoran map of the Eastern Reach areas and all that, I believe there's, like, you know, you get the flatlands here. This will be, like, the Deerwood, Glonfath area, and then some mountains either to the south, and south of these would be, like, it depends on where this mountain range is in the distance. This could either be, to the south would be the Valen Republics, or to the north, if this was like a northern-ish mountain range, it would be either Raid Saris or the White March, right? But it seems like all of this will take place in this, like, plains area. Plains and foresty jungle fun zone. But nonetheless, probably War of Black Trees, when the Aediran Empire totally caught all these trees on fire, burned out a whole bunch of Glonfathans. It was horrific. This was one of the big things how Admeth Hadrid came into power. Some nasty shit that Admeth Hadrid got up to. And I also think, hey, this person speaking right here, we have always known Warlow. Wow, I can drag that. I think that person is Admeth Hadrid. Also given the Aediran accent, of course, if you know Pillars of Eternity, Eora, they are always Johnny on the spot with accents, dialects, language, keeping it consistent. And I think there's reason to believe that they would follow suit here, right? Why break tradition when the tradition of keeping it cool as hell like that is, well, it's cool as hell. Let's give it a listen.
Have always known war.
Right. You can hear, like, the British Old English of Eld Aediran, I believe, right? But yeah, I'm thinking this is War of the Black Trees. So I think already we've got a setting. That said, it could be in the Aediran Empire, this could be some sort of after effects or something after they become an empire, after the Aediran kingdom merges with the kingdom of the Coquelin elves or something. This could be the Coquelin elf ruins, but I don't really know. I don't even know if it's known in the lore if they have ruins in that regard, right? Whereas he's just looking at this. Looks like some Ingwithan stuff, right? Totally does. Anyway, let's continue. Oh, Obsidian's making this? What? All right, here we go. This is where the fires are coming from, right? And I feel like given the emphasis of these people lighting it on fire, like the first thing you see is them shooting it just kind of into the open. Most of the arrows don't hit a person, right? And then all the fire down here. I feel like that's really them trying to make a statement that yes, they are intentionally setting fire to the forest, War of the Black Trees stuff. Definitely look up War of the Black Trees if you're unfamiliar. It's some wild stuff. And if it sounds very similar to United States history, that is totally intentional. Is totally meant to be analogous to that. Anyway, this banner is supposed to be, right, well, I don't know about supposed to be, but this little crown thing here, you can see, is the crown of Wodica, or Wodica. Good lord, the pronunciations are going to be awful. But, yeah, very Wodican stuff going on. I'm not sure about the dagger. Maybe that's like I'm not sure, the sigil or whatever, a small alteration for whoever lives in this castle or keep. Maybe the old Aediran Empire has a small alteration, right? Certainly in Pillars of Eternity lore, they're no stranger to different cultures having their own slightly different takes on the pantheon, right? So maybe that's what we see here. But nonetheless, Wodica for sure, right? Fire, a lot of that, very, very Wodican. Though also Mogren, but unimportant at the moment. Very obviously meant to be Wodica stuff. And that comes into play later. Let's continue. There we go. Yeah, see, a lot of the arrows drop off.
It forged our empire.
All right, war. It forged our empire. Let's go back here. Let's see. What does he say here? Let me go back.
We have always known
Yeah,
war.
it forged our empire. Good. Which is, like we were touching on earlier, with the Aediran kingdom and the Coquelin kingdom, it was war that forged their empire, right? So definitely this person 100% is Aediran. I guess the main question is, do you think this is in the Aedir Empire, their like mainland area where they're all from, or the new colony of the Deerwood? And I'm thinking the Deerwood because of these ruins, right? Of course, that could be Coquelin ruins, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. If I want to try and commit to a hot take, well, hot take, but I want to commit to a take because it's more fun if we commit to something. Anyway, let's continue back to this. Arrows flying through. Forged our empire.
It forged our empire.
Right, the two of them merged here. We have a cool statue of a guy with a questionable attire. It doesn't fully cover him. And a fun little dog. Get a little bit closer. Oh, what's that? Oh my gosh. A little bit of Pillars of Eternity teal, right? Some Audra pillars. Now, I'm thinking this is probably Gallowan, right? Which also, if this is Gallowan, which makes sense, look, dude with a big scraggly-ass beard, some kind of like loose-fitting clothes with a lot of skin exposed, very Gallowan. A few animals missing, but once again, maybe interpretation, right? Sometimes there's like a stelgar, sometimes there's, I think like a stag, sometimes. But definitely there's always the wolf associated with Gallowan. And this may be this culture's interpretation of Gallowan, right? And that culture would be the Glonfothings, right? Air Glonfoth. Gallowan is very prominent in their culture, whereas similar to the Aediran Empire having Wodica in a place of prominence in their culture, as we can see here, the Glonfothings, all about that Gallowan stuff, right? Whereas the Coquelin elves, we just really don't know much about them at the moment, right? And I feel like that could either mean one of two things. Either they're signifying here, like, yeah, we're trying to tell you a story with the imagery here. We know what we're doing. We know that some people will pick up on this. Alternatively, it could be that they're paving new roads, so to speak, right? They are writing out and filling out this Coquelin stuff. But it seems very Deerwooden, right? Seems very Deerwood to me. Seems the most plausible. Anyway.
Turn heroes into queens and kings. And decimated our foes.
Right, that is wild. Look at that. You can definitely tell that whatever bow shot this, not only is it on fire, but it deals fire damage, because otherwise that is just not possible. Everyone knows you cannot destroy undead with piercing damage alone, right? But yeah, this is makes a big point of showing the undead, which undead, very important. Now, one of the things that I do think also lends credence to our B route for where this could be taking place and all of that, of it being in the Aediran Empire, is the presence of the undead, right? Maybe this is about the first time that the Aediran Empire had Animancy stuff go wrong, and they immediately went to outlaw it, right? Animancy, for the uninitiated, it's soul magic. It's like magic, except for the soul. It's like a more complicated version of necromancy. People try to use it to, like, extend life, put souls into inanimate objects, stuff like that, create mechanical creatures, stuff like that. It's very interesting. It's the simplest way to put it is necromancy, but that really does not do it justice. It's a lot more complicated than that. All right. There we go. And then this...
Now our oaths are lost.
Our oaths are lost, huh? Also, Wodica, very much into oaths. I think one of her aliases, the Oathkeeper, Oathbinder, one of those two. She's very into that stuff, right? So, seems very, very important. Of course, earlier, once again, this might be like with Gallowan over here, right? It could be setting this up as like, yeah, these two forces are opposed. Here's a flaming arrow going past a statue of Gallowan, right? If Gallowan here is meant to be representative or symbolic of Eir Glonfoth and the Glonfothans, and over here, Wodica back at the castle, right? And here, more Wodica stuff. Wodica. I'm so sorry. All right. And there. Good skeleton blowing up.
Now our oaths are lost.
Right. And down here, this is some sort of like some Gandalf fighting the Balrog beast kind of area. But now this could be, it could still be Culklin ruins, but we, like I said, just don't know too much about them. But you know what we do know about Engwithan ruins is a lot of them have subterranean sections, right? How many areas have we gone into in Engwithan ruins and Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 that had some sort of subterranean aspect? A lot. Many of them do. Not exclusively, certainly. Like, even some places like Pococahara in Deadfire, it's got a lot of areas that are above ground, but they very often have stuff like this. Is this not extremely reminiscent of the ruins from the very end of Pillars of Eternity 1, right? With these winding paths and like large abysses beneath. It's very reminiscent to it, if you ask me. And this in the background, what is that? What do you think that is? Looks like some kind of crown. Could be, I don't know, I'm kind of tempted to say like Wodica's crown or something, right? We've seen some sort of interpretation of that. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at more pictures of all of the gods and interpretations that we know of. But it's definitely some sort of big fanned headdress unit going on, right? Right? Okay. Anyway, let us continue here.
Forsaken. And you must face the monsters our sins have borne.
All right. Very important. You have two hands. One for purple, one for blue. But even more important is
our
this.
Sins have borne.
Let's see.
You must face the monsters.
You must face the monsters our sins have borne, right? Very telling. It could be, what are the monsters? What are the sins, more importantly? So the sins could be, as we saw here at the beginning, it could be stuff to do with the War of Black Trees, because it upset a lot of the natural world. A lot of the Wilder got very upset at the war campaign ravaging the countryside and all of that. It could be that. It could be retaliation from Eir Glonfoth. They sent a lot of what would eventually become known as ciphers, who use purple magic. More on that in a bit. They use purple magic. We'll keep that in mind. Remember that. But it could also be, if we want to go our B route again of this being in the Aedirran Empire, which I don't think so. I really don't think so. Maybe the Culklin, they loved Gallowan. Maybe they did. But let's see here. Oh god, what was my train of thought? I fucking lost it. Oh good lord, we'll do a quick cut here. Okay, the sin could also be very easily Animancy, right? If we want to go our B route, it could be Animancy, right? The creation of undead and all of the problems and complications that arose from Animancy. Though some good things too, right? Animancy did result in some good stuff. It's a very morally gray situation, Animancy, right? It's very much like, hey, player, you decide what you make of this horrific situation. But yeah, the sin that bores monsters may be Animancy, and the monsters may literally be undead, right? It may be a literal situation. Could be. That's probably the most convincing line, I think, for me, that would make it sound like, oh yeah, all of this is about the Aedirran Empire fucking around with Animancy for the first time, right? I feel like that's got to be it. Anyway, I'm still hesitant to say that because there's so many other things that point to the War of Black Trees, like so much that they show intentionally here. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm approaching this from the wrong angle of like, maybe not everything put in the trailer is with intent. Like, not everything has a purpose. Like, this is just meant to be a generic battlefield. And they just caught the forest on fire just because, you know, hey, that's kind of what'll happen sometimes when you fight people in an area like this. But it really evokes War of Black Trees, doesn't it? Especially with all the black smoke and the clouds and all that. It really evokes that for me. But that's why I'm so much more leaning toward War of Black Trees era. Like, between War of Black Trees and the War of Defiance, when the Dyrwood and the Aedirrans in the Dyrwood finally declare independence from the Empire. Right, which we'll get into here. Also, this, like I said, could be cipher magic. If we are to assume that this takes place between the War of Black Trees and the War of Defiance, this could be cipher magic, which first came into the knowledge of the Aedirran Empire during that time period, right? Or maybe a little bit after, I'm not quite sure, but around that time period, the Glonfathans actually, in order to help with the War of Defiance, in order to help them break off from the main empire, they actually taught a lot of the Aedirrans, the Aedirran colonists, they taught a lot of them cipher magic, right? They had the Mind Hunters. There's some sort of word, good lord, I don't even know. You know how it is. It's one of those really wild-ass words that are in Pillars of Eternity. But they were like Mind Hunters or something. That one of the... I can't remember if the Orlin was like blind or deaf or maybe both, but taught Admeth Hadrid and some of Admeth Hadrid's folks how to be some of the first ciphers, right? Which I think would make for a pretty interesting player character if that's what sets you apart, is that you are one of the very first ciphers, right? Alright.
Sins have borne.
We get all this. Looks cool, but not in engine.
Is an oath worth the weight of a crown?
Ooh, very good, right? Very good delivery on that, right? But this, once again, I think leads us back to the idea that this will be, this whole storyline will take place shortly after the War of Black Trees. Maybe the prologue or beginning takes place during War of Black Trees, right? But this line right here is an oath worth the weight of a crown. I think that implies that this game will end in the final closing moments of the War of Defiance. I almost feel like that will be the case. Because the crown in question and the oath in question would be the oath pledging allegiance to the Aedirran Empire, and the crown would be when Admeth Hadrid declares the Dyrwood a nation on its own, secedes from the Empire, right? I feel like that's totally it. Is it worth it to break your oath to the Empire in order to have your own crown, to declare yourself duke of your own place for whatever reason, right? And there is a lot of lore that is unwritten in this section. I went and checked a few of the books, in-game books and all that, and they only talk about vagaries with this, saying that, like, yeah, Admeth Hadrid used a whole bunch of political, military, and economic maneuvering to, well, outmaneuver the current first king, the first Neurange. Another Pillars of Eternity word. The Edaran Empire's current first king, right? Every king that they have is the first king. But yeah, I feel like that's totally what this is going to all be about. The person speaking, probably Admeth Hadrid, right? Because Admeth Hadrid is such an interesting character who does both good things, totally helps to free and emancipate all of the Glanfathans, does really bad things as well, burns a lot of Glanfathan land and Glanfathans inside of it, does a lot of bad things, and is also complicit in the colonization of the Deerwood, right? So Admeth becomes a super duper compelling character. I don't think you'll play as him, but instead you'll be able to pass judgment on Admeth Hadrid, right? But yeah, that's it. That's Avowed. I think that'll be totally what it's all about. Ah. Very cool, right? They don't mention this in a single place that is set in Eora, right? That is so wild. Oh my gosh. But here, with the fire, it almost makes me think, like, what could this be? A dragon? I don't know. Are we supposed to draw some sort of conclusion here? Maybe this is some sort of beast like we saw at the end of Pillars 1, summoned by Wodica, right? How cool would it be? When is Merwald alive? How cool would it be if you either meet or even... Now, you can't play as Merwald, because there's no way they would restrict your character to looking like Merwald, right? There's no way. But how cool would it be if you met Merwald? When is Merwald alive? I don't know. That'd be very neat. If you met the Watcher just previous to the Watcher of Cadnua, right? Be very cool, and it would be really nice for fans of the original CRPG to go around to some of the notable places when they're early on, right? You could see the statue of Adnua with parts of it coming out of the ground and all that. You could see, like, Defiance Bay, the early years, all of that. You could see the big, neat eggs everywhere that, ooh, what could they mean? Who knows? Right? But this definitely is a prequel. The question is, when is this prequel? Is it shortly after War of the Black Trees, leading up to War of Defiance? Or is it early days of the Edaran Empire, when they were first getting started with Animancy, and they had their big hullabaloo, and it went so poorly that they immediately did like a 180 on Animancy and just like outlawed the shit out of it, right? They got rid of it so badly because it was like horrific for them. They took such a firm and staunch stance. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Avowed. Very interesting, cool. Holy shit, we did go 25 minutes, didn't we? Man, I tried to keep it short. Well, what can you do? I'm another one of these fucking videos where someone is just analyzing the hell out of a trailer for like 20 million hours. Yes, these trees, conifers, truly unique to the area around the Pearlwood coast. Yes. There is a Pearlwood something or other. I'm not sure if it's Pearlwood Coast or what. Anyway, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. I needed to make this. I needed to do this because I'm just so impossibly excited for it, right? Holy shit. Oh my gosh, it'll probably be like 5 million years away, but oh my gosh, it's so good. Look at that. Oh gosh. Keep in mind, this is not gameplay. Though, who knows? Maybe on the new hardware, it'll look something similar. Especially with the budget of Microsoft behind Obsidian, finally. They'll be able to make it'll be like a real-ass AAA game, right? Not a AA, which Obsidian has made for so long, right? Yeah, Avowed. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. Wonder who's working on it, right? We definitely know Josh Sawyer is not working on it. He's taking a break. But yeah, very curious. Curious to see a lava. I think I'll enjoy it nonetheless, just for the sake of the world building, right? Just to like exist in that world even more. All right. yeah. Until next time, please take care of each other.